Welcome to Broken Grounds video series. My name is Kareen, and today I want to go over soil and seeds, my second and third tip in my 5 tips to get your garden started. So just as a reminder, if you didn't receive that downloadable PDF, I included another link to it in the e-newsletter that you received in your inbox, or you can also get it by signing up for my e-newsletter through my website. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. So let's start with soil. Soil is the foundation of your garden. A healthy soil means healthy plants, means a productive garden with high yields. So paying attention to your soil is really important. And a healthy soil is a soil full of living microorganisms with a crumbly structure and high organic matter. And with our annual gardens, year after year, we're pulling nutrient out of the soil. So we really need to pay attention to replenishing that nutrient every growing season. So I recommend inputs of compost and manure in the fall, preferably before you put your gardens to bed. But if you can't do it then, certainly doing that in the spring. And then in addition to that, growing some of your own fertility, growing nitrogen-fixing plants like legumes or nutrient-accumulating plants like comfrey. So definitely recommend growing some of that fertility on site. And part of our goal here on our property is to reduce the amount of inputs that we bring into our property year after year. So what I'm aiming for is growing most of my fertility on site so that I don't have to bring in that compost and manure season after season. So I have chickens and their manure, we use that in the garden. We're composting our kitchen scraps and also putting those, cycling those back into the garden. And then third, I'm growing those nutrient accumulating and nitrogen fixing plants. So all of those strategies are increasing the fertility on my site year after year to the point where somewhere down the road, I'm not sure when, but we'll be able to really minimize the compost that we bring onto the site every year. So that's soil. The second thing I want to talk to you about are seeds. And by seeds, I mean determining what you're going to grow in your garden this spring. And right now is a really good time to start thinking about that. If you're a beginner gardener, of course, what I would recommend is starting with growing what you like to eat. Growing what your family eats on a daily or a weekly basis that would be really convenient to have in your backyard garden. If you cook with a lot of herbs, growing those herbs as well in your garden. So that's a good place to start. And then, of course, growing things that do well in this cold climate. And of course, greens do really well here. Lettuce, kale, Asian greens, mustard greens, those do fantastically. Whereas things like melons and peppers and eggplant, more of your hot crops, they're going to be a little bit more challenging. Completely doable, but you're going to have to baby them along a little bit through the growing season. So consider that. And then another thing to consider, of course, are introducing perennial fruits and vegetables into your garden space. Do you want asparagus? Do you want rhubarb? Do you want strawberries? Other apple trees, pear trees. If you have the space for them, then I'd highly recommend putting some of those into your system. The perennial vegetables and fruits get a jump start on the growing season. And of course, there's less work involved in planting and maintaining them. So that's definitely something to consider. Now, in terms of sources of seeds, I would recommend if you know of a good local source in your area, that would be your first choice. Those are people, those growers have likely bred these plants, and these plants do very well in our cold climate. So if there's a local seed source that you know of, definitely go with them. If there isn't a local seed source, then going to your local nurseries is my second recommendation, and they will typically stock seed from companies that they know have a good track record in your particular climate. So local nurseries would be your next option. Definitely stay away from the big box stores. I wouldn't recommend going and buying seed from the big box stores because they're typically stocking fairly generic seed from seed companies that they use nationwide. So that's not going to be specific to this particular climate. And then the third option that you have is actually ordering the seeds directly from the seed companies online. And I have 3 companies that I would recommend: Johnny Seeds, High Mowing Seeds, and Seed Savers Exchange. So Johnny Seeds is kind of the big warehouse seed company. It has both non-organic and organic varieties of seeds, and in addition to that, it has gardening supplies and farming supplies for season extension and tools and all sorts of things. You can buy seeds in bulk there as well. And then Seed Savers Exchange and High Mowing Seeds are both great companies that provide organic, often heirloom seed. So definitely check them both out. I like both of those companies because they are dedicated to improving our agricultural practices, regenerating the soil, and diversifying our seed banks in this country. So I would recommend those 2 companies as well. And I'll include a list of these at the end of this video. So I'd like you to take a couple actions after watching this video. One is that if you have any burning questions that you want to have answered before the growing season comes around, definitely leave those in the comments below. And then second, if you do like this video, if you like the resource, the 5 tips resource, share those with your friends, have them sign up for my e-newsletter. So stay tuned in a couple weeks for my last 2 tips, which are start small and stay close. And thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you soon.